everybody. Welcome to Paranormal Hangover. Lauren and I are very excited this evening to be speaking with the proclaimed, the exalted godfather of the paranormal, Mr. John Zaffis. Ooh. His friends may call him that.
Wow.
But
how I get to read it up here, folks?
Wow.
See what happens there?
Somebody has their cranky pants on tonight.
I'm not friends.
Well, that's okay. Anyway, so yeah, fun show so far. Great. And how are you?
And that's it for tonight.
Oh man, it's a quiet chat room. We've got okay, never mind. So Bridget was in the chat room, but Bridget's now left the chat room, so she's no longer with us.
Peace out.
Maybe there's a problem with the show. I don't know.
Peace out.
But that would be par for the course, having a problem with the show tonight. So, I would like to talk a little bit about some cool stuff that we have going on. We had Brian Cano on last week.
Okay.
Go ahead. Pay attention to the show.
Go ahead.
We had Brian on last week,
yes,
which was a great show as always. Always fun to talk with Brian and get his brain to pick a little bit. He's quite the interesting person, and he's full of tons of knowledge.
Yeah.
And I'm super excited about that Zombie Survival Weekend. I want to go to that.
I know you want to go. I would love. I hope we can go. We'll see if we can.
We'll try. We'll try and make it out there.
It would be cool. I'd probably be the one to off myself, though. Not gonna lie.
Oh my goodness.
I'd be the one. Like I don't want to be a zombie.
Oh my God.
So what else is new?
Well, we have SalemCon coming up, that little thing that we've been working on.
Oh, God. SalemCon.
SalemCon.
Anyone going? Anyone going to that?
A few people coming.
Who's going?
I don't know. It's a couple
like 10 people going, right?
Maybe a little more. Yeah. It's going to be huge.
I'm not including hotel staff.
Forget that. It's going to be a huge event. We're very excited. Our friends Bridget and Pam and Michelle and I think Melanie and all the other people down there in Gettysburg will be coming up for it.
Mountain Gypsies are coming, right?
Mountain Gypsies are coming. That'll be Kathy and Tesserae and Carmen. John's actually friends with Carmen. So they'll be coming up. DPM will be there. Coriel Kramer, Frank Sinelli, Rosalind Bound. We have folks flying out from New Mexico and California and Texas and Georgia to attend this thing.
Yep.
I'm stoked.
I'm kind of excited.
You're kind of excited?
Kind of.
Okay.
I'm excited. I just hope all the smell... The smell? The smell is melted. The snow is melted.
Hopefully the smell will have melted by then. Yeah. But that's...
The stank still smells.
I'm not so sure. If we need a good 2 weeks of 80-degree weather to crack this.
I know.
There's like 7 feet of snow on the ground out there.
And it snowed overnight, too, so we woke up to more snow. It's not even surprising anymore. It's just like, oh, yeah, okay, snow.
Right.
I got some more snow.
.com and purchase your tickets.
.com, like she says in the Progressive is. .com.
We've got a great lecture series lined up. John Tobin and Jeff Belanger and John Zaffis, Dustin Pari, Brian Cano, Scott Grunwald,
Michael Diamond,
Tim Weisberg. All these folks are going to be speaking and giving you a little different lecture than maybe you're used to at most of the cons. A lot of times you'll go to these cons and people will talk about, I was on this show, I was on that show, production was like this. This time we're going to try and pick the brains a little bit and get people to talk more about the paranormal, the history, what they're doing, what brought us to where we are, things like that.
Different types of hauntings.
Yeah.
How different types of hauntings are handled. How we do research.
Yeah.
End to a means, essentially.
Exactly.
So.
I'm doing a show. I don't want to eat caramel. Thank you. Lauren just offered me caramel, and I'm not sure why she's going to eat caramel either. It's not the best thing for the radio when your teeth get stuck together. Anyway. So, John Zaffis coming on in about 4 minutes. We'll have him here to talk a little bit about some of the things he's done.
Yep.
This is going to be a fun show. We're going to
It's going to be a really good show.
Yeah, so if you're in the chat room and you have any questions, feel free to throw them up when John's in here, and we'll try and ask them as soon as we can. The other thing that we have going on is...
How boring we are.
Yes, we're very boring. This is horrible. I don't know. Lauren is like deflated tonight. I'm all over here all animated and excited, and she's over there like, yeah, whatever. Picking up her phone again, checking her messages. So this is
I'm drinking a cup of tea, so she'll be very relaxed.
I am calling Lauren out all night long tonight, watching her over there do her thing and not pay attention to the show. And I'm going to be like, what did we just say? She'll be going, I don't know. But.
Wow. Okay. I can't call you out on the radio because things I want to say are not radio friendly.
Wow. Okay, well, it all comes true.
Dream a little dream. It all comes true.
So, anyway.
What else is going on? A couple radio shows.
Enterprise Rent-A-Car is horrible.
Yeah, and besides that, the weather is just depressing, and it's bringing everybody down.
Yeah.
At first, it's nice, and it's fun, and it's cute, because the snow looks so pretty, and you can stay inside, and you get off from school and from work, and kind of being home ridden is okay for a little while because it's fun. And then after 6 weeks, it becomes depressing.
Right.
The sun doesn't come out anymore. Everybody's miserable.
Yep.
There were, how many ambulances and sirens did we hear today?
There were, for whatever reason,
nonstop.
The lightest dusting of snow caused, like, crazy accidents in town.
Because everything was ice.
Yeah.
Everything was ice, literally.
But there won't be ice at SalemCon.
Hopefully
It'll be melted by SalemCon, and everybody will come out on Friday night to the VIP party, sponsored by our friends over at Generic Black Shirt Group at Paranormal After Party.
That'll be fun.
And then $10. You want to hear the lectures? That's included in the $10. Spend your money on the stuff that you're going to see. People are selling books. People are selling pictures. They're selling jewelry. They have
whatever. Yeah, we're going to have readings. We're going to have a whole bunch of things that to keep you interested throughout the day. If for whatever reason you decide, I can't sit in the lecture room for any longer, I need to go walk around.
Yep.
Do a walkabout. Do a walkabout.
Do a walkabout. Yeah, walkabout at SalemCon.
Walkabout at SalemCon. I don't know what voice you were going for, but it wasn't Australian.
Whatever. And then at the end of the day,
like Bilbo Baggins.
There'll be a break from about 3:30ish to about 7:30.
Yeah.
You'll be able to go have dinner. You'll be able to hit your room for a little while, take a quick power nap if you want to, walk around Salem, explore the city a little bit and some of the sites.
Pour yourself some Tito's.
Pour some Tito's vodka, because then at about 7:30, everybody's going to get back together, and we're going to head out on a couple of ghost hunts.
Ghost hunts?
Ghost hunts.
Ghost hunts.
All around Salem, but within walking distance of the Hawthorne.
Yeah.
And by walking distance, I don't mean you're going to walk 52 blocks. It's all going to be very, very close to the Hawthorne Hotel.
New York City.
So it's going to be a fun day, fun weekend. With my dad. Yeah. And then you never know.
I just want it to be nice out.
There might be some after parties.
Oh, there will be after parties.
Make sure everybody finds a buddy, because you're going to have an after party to go to. I'm sure of that.
Yeah, of course.
And
don't forget though, for you out of state residents, Massachusetts bars close down at like 12:30.
12:30, 1 o'clock.
So just be prepared for that. This ain't like New York.
Yeah. The bars close around 12:30.
Booze till 3 a.m.
Your room doesn't close at that time, though.
No.
Keep going. So anyway, we talked enough about SalemCon. It's time to bring on our very, very special guest for the evening, Mr. John Zaffis. John, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How you two doing?
Good evening, John. We're doing fantastic. Thank
you. Great. You keeping
How's
warm?
Down in what?
Are you keeping warm up there?
Yeah, trying.
You know, it was like a freaking heat wave today, because it got up to like 36 degrees. It was incredible.
Well, it's funny because we got the same thing right here on the coast right now, too. So the past week we've been getting the cold weather, and today it warmed up and felt like a heat wave. I agree.
Yeah, it's crazy. You're down in Connecticut, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so you're in Connecticut, and we're up here in northeastern Mass, right up in the Cape Ann area. So, I think our weathers end up very similar, because you're down by the water. We stick out in the water, so whatever happens to you, it happens here too.
Absolutely.
It's been brutal, man. I'll tell you. We're weathering the storm though, and at 6 o'clock, I was looking at the window tonight, and I go, "Holy crap! The sun's still kind of out a little bit. It's really getting better."
I know.
It is.
I like that.
I know. I stood out on my deck for a little while today, and I just said, "Oh, this feels good."
You got to get the vitamin D from the sun to get you going again.
Speaking of that, someone
absolutely.
Someone on Facebook. I don't know. It was like yesterday or the day before. put up a picture of a tanning booth and was like, getting my vitamin D, like, and skin cancer. Like, go for a walk. You're still going to get vitamin D.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yes. And that's the thing, you know, people run in and they're too quick to be like, yeah, walking's too physical. I'm just going to lay in this booth. And
well, not even that it's too physical. It's that it's been below zero temperatures lately, so the wind isn't helping any. Yeah. So even being outside for 10 minutes sometimes is brutal.
Yeah, that's bad.
Whatever.
So we didn't call to talk about the weather. What?
Actually, that's exactly what this show is. Welcome.
Yes, we're ditching the ghost stuff. We're just going to talk weather for the rest of the night. Oh man. So I'll start right off the bat here with what's going on with the museum hunt. There's a lot of teasers out there about maybe something here in Massachusetts, but last I saw it, maybe not done yet. Anything new on that front?
Well, we're still working on it, and you know, it's a lot different buying and securing a commercial piece of property in comparison to, you know, buying a house. You just hire an inspector and you get everything done. But with commercial property, you have to go through zoning, and you have to get an architect involved, and you have to get committees involved, and it was quite a learning curve. I'll tell you that much. We're still in the process. I have I think 7 meetings under my belt now. I have a few more to go through, and I will know at the end of that.
Wow.
Jesus.
Wow.
It is. It's really, you know, quite the process, you know, with getting everything secured away with as far as, you know, parking and, you know, a sprinkler system, an alarm system, all these things that are mandated. And, you know, it's in most states it's like that. But this one particular piece of property is just out of many. I can't even tell you how many pieces of property I looked at. This one just happened to catch my eye, and it's just unique. It's just something that really caught my eye, and, you know, going through it and walking through it, it was just something I'm hoping. I have my fingers crossed that it'll be able to be pulled together, and hopefully by summer it'll be up and running, I hope.
Yeah. Oh, that would be excellent.
Good.
Now, John, are you going to be a nervous wreck, as I feel like anyone would be, transporting all these objects from one location to the next?
I think the biggest thing with me, and everybody in the family keeps teasing me, they go, how are you ever going to let go of anything being out of the barn on the property? And I go, I don't know. I'll deal with it when I come up to it. I'll probably have to go for counseling. But, I mean, you know, as far as, you know, transporting.
I'm not ready.
Yeah, you know, a lot of the things you know, more concerned about it, you know, being fragile or something getting broken, and, you know, because a lot of the items, you know, since they've been in the museum, haven't come out. I mean, there's a few things that I do take out once in a while when I do a few things out there, but not often. So, yeah, you know, I'm concerned all the way around with several different aspects as far as things being moved.
Yeah, wow. You can just employ your children as couriers, you know. Contract them out to take the objects.
That would be World War III breaking out. Because I'd be screaming and yelling, they'd be screaming and yelling back at me. So it would just be a 3-ring circus. No.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just have this vision in my mind of a moving company and a big van and a priest standing there just throwing holy water on people as they carry stuff out.
Well, stop to think about that. You know, that's a comical thing if you're thinking about it. You know, okay, you call a moving company and say, well, you know, it's a bunch of artifacts that need to be moved, and naturally I would have to tell them they were haunted. What the heck is there going to be the response? Thank you, but no thank you? What? I don't know.
Yeah. Or it'll be, okay, buddy, whatever, and then someone trips over a brick, you know, something has absolutely nothing to do with the object, and all of a sudden they're spooked and everything gets left on the side of the road.
Again, you know, you think about these things, and, you know, the same thing with me, because I got a wicked sense of humor, too, is the fact that I'm like, what in the world would these people even start thinking? Would people, because a lot of people are superstitious. They, you know, whether they, you know, get involved with the paranormal or not, they don't like to, you know, take chances with anything. And it's funny, anytime I do have contractors or anybody on the property. I always pre-warn them. I tell them I'm into the paranormal and, things like that. And I've had contractors that just wanted nothing to do with the place. They didn't even want to work on anything here.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
They've seen too many 80s ghost movies.
Yeah. And that's the hard... Go ahead.
Yeah, it's comical. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute. It's got nothing to do with the house. We don't care. You got that stuff anywhere near here, I ain't touching it. I'm not going anywhere near it.
Yeah, right.
And that's the thing. It's crazy because, all right, all of our eyes, or not all, but most people's eyes have been opened by TV. So a lot of people, it was a big stigma, and then the TV shows started coming more and more and more, and it really opened up the paranormal community to a lot of new faces, because it opened a lot of minds up to, hey, that stuff that I thought was maybe making me a little crazy is actually really happening. Yeah. So they had an outlet, and the flip side of it is well, some of the shows have maybe been a little over the top. Mm-hmm. So now people expect that is what's going to happen if people are going into a place that maybe has some haunted objects, or if you're trying to get into a location to do an investigation, they're thinking, I saw that TV show. I don't want that happening here. Yeah. And it's difficult to really, I don't want to say do your job properly, but it makes it difficult to get things, to get into places that you want to get into and you think you really could get into because they're historical and there's a story to be told. People close their minds and they shut the door because they don't want you to come in and they don't want to know the story, or they saw the TV and are afraid you're going to come in and there's going to be a portal opened up and stuff's going to get sucked in and everybody's going to be gone.
I'm laughing because I go through that. I still even go through it to this day with different things. People working at historical locations or something will be friends. We'll be going back and forth, and the same thing. We'll try to get something set up. We know from the stories we hear that there's some type of activity, and once it reaches the board, or a lot of the people on the higher up level, they go, oh no, we don't want to be known for that. We don't want to be anybody talking about it. And my reaction is, what do you mean? People are talking about it anyways. It's written up in articles. What are you talking about?
Right. Yeah.
But it still has the stigma with a lot of locations and with a lot of things, where people get extremely guarded and they just throw it up, or you'll have somebody or someone involved with it that they just don't want anything to do with the paranormal. Period.
Yeah, like not every closet has a Babadook in it, all right? Not every box is a Dybbuk box. Like people they start to stereotype, and they get so obsessed and obsessive with things that don't really exist or aren't really happening. Like your fridge is not Zool's not coming out of your fridge, And just because your fridge is in an historic building doesn't mean Zool's coming out of it.
Right. It's amazing. It really is, because same thing with me. A lot of times when I hear somebody explaining something to me, I have to try to restrain myself because I just want to bust out laughing. They'll go, no, we saw it. No, I saw that on TV. I know what's going to end up happening. No. And then, you could be on the flip side of that. And, makes it difficult being an investigator too, is that, oh, okay, yeah, you're coming. Is the film crew coming with you?
Yeah.
So again, a lot of times you can't win. Places don't want you, or people want the film crew. You got your choice.
Yep. Oh my God, I just thought of a fantastic film crew, just as a joke. Just have people come dressed all in white sheets, and instead of the the take thing, it's an Ouija board, cut in half. All the ridiculous stereotypes about the paranormal. Just one's dressed like a clown,
There's a skit there. We can do something with that.
Absolutely.
Speaking about this, because this is a good topic to talk about for a little while.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a location here in Gloucester, Hammond Castle. It's right on the western part of town, over towards Magnolia.
Mm-hmm.
John Hayes Hammond, the guy who built it for his wife as a wedding present, was actually into spirit communication. He tried finding new techniques and new ways. He held seances. He did psychic experiments with using a oh my God,
Faraday cage?
Yeah, Faraday cage. So he did a lot of edgy things. They are so close-minded at that museum that you even drop the word paranormal, and they're like, nope, go away.
Yeah, they completely just shut you out. They don't even listen.
Ghost Hunters shot an episode there.
I'm just going to say that I think that was recently on, I can't think of the name of the show, but they talk about all the big old haunted mansions and the castles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mysteries, castles, and museums.
Oh, yeah.
That was recently on there. Yeah.
Yeah.
They went in with the sort of history part of everything, and then for the show talked about the paranormal. The people who work there have had experiences. They'll talk openly about it. The board of directors, like I said, Ghost Hunters, that show, they tape there, the only team to go in, and the board of directors has never even watched the episode because they want nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's like, but it's sad because I personally, and I'm sorry I'm getting real passionate in jumping into this, but I've lived here my whole life. That place really needs help. It needs to be renovated, and it's such a revenue opportunity if they were to hold something once a year or a couple times a year there that was paranormal related. They could bring in some good money for the castle and help with some of the displays. Yeah. And it just drives me nuts that the history of the castle goes back to the paranormal, but they're so close-minded about it. And it's
such a beautiful castle.
Yeah.
It breaks my heart when I see the display. The display cards are like typed, but they were typed in 1982.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and it hasn't changed since. And they need help. They need such help.
You'd like this, John. There's a skull there that was John Hayes Hammond's most prized possession that he got on a trip to, I want to say maybe the
South
Virgin
America,
Islands or something like that. But it's supposedly a skull of a crew member of Christopher Columbus's.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. But it's right there in a box in the open that you can look and see it.
Yeah.
But, so that's on the premise there. It's a pretty cool little...
Yeah.
You should be, if you've never been up, you should take the time sometime before the thing falls apart.
Before it falls into the ocean, literally, because it's right on a cliff, so...
Yeah.
But
it is sad. And, again... a historical piece of property down here. The homestead dates way back. I mean, it goes back hundreds and hundreds of years. An extremely haunted piece of property. It's a museum. It's a park. There's all different types of things affiliated with it. And the same thing with me. I was like, gee, let's do a fundraiser. Let's raise money here so you can get, some repair work done and everything. And, a couple of the people were, they're all psyched about it and everything. And we got it together. We pulled it off and, they made a tremendous amount of money. But right after that, several of the board members made a decision they no longer wanted that ever done there.
Wow.
And it wasn't like anything crazy happened. I mean, I had like 120 people there at the, at the lecture and stuff and talked about the hauntings and everything. But again, it just makes you wonder, and you're making me think about the story and, why people look at things from a perspective, in one location where they're like, yeah, gee, let's open the doors. Let's bring everybody in. And, and other locations that we know have the same type of stereo, type of activity occurring. They want nothing to do with it. It's amazing. It really is.
Yeah. It's frustrating. It's frustrating on our end. For them, it's probably just as frustrating for us to be knocking on the door and asking.
Yeah.
But on our end, it's like, you don't get it. There's so much. First of all, we want that opportunity because we want to know the history and we want that aha moment to happen. But it's also frustrating because we want other people to experience that aha moment and know about this place.
Yeah. And paranormal aside, it's a lack of concern or care even just for the history of our country, sadly.
Yeah.
It's a complete just like removal from the history and what can we do in the future and what little tiny computer can we invent now.
Yeah.
That can fit on my pinky nail and
I keep going back to this year, and I feel so embarrassed to say this, but I'm 39, and I just learned this year that if you look at the old historical homes in the area, especially in New England, If you see an old historic home with a white chimney with a black stripe around the top, that signifies that was a safe house on the Underground Railroad. I had no idea until this year.
Well, guess what, buddy?
They're all over Gloucester.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
They're all over Gloucester.
They're everywhere. Yeah. And you look at it and you go, oh, now I want to get into that place because there's history there.
Yeah.
Get in there.
Yeah.
No idea. I never knew that.
Look, I just taught John Zaffis something. I'm leaving.
You sure did. Yeah. Wow,
But
that's an interesting, thing to know, because I never knew it. And again, me too. I grew up in the New England area too, and this is the first time I've ever heard that.
Yeah, and it's things like that we know people don't get that that's part of what we do.
Yeah.
We're trying to bring all that back because I bet you our parents or their parents knew about it, but we had no idea because it's just been lost through history because nobody cared to tell us.
Mm.
And it's important. It's important to know that there were safe houses right here on the coast or right within New England for stops on the Underground Railroad, and that's how they signified it, was the white chimney with the black stripe around the top.
Well, funny, something else that like the other day at work, I started talking about the history of the area, and people that I work with were like, wait, what?
Yeah.
The history goes back that far? Wait, what do you mean that happened here in Gloucester?
Yeah.
Oh,
witch trials.
Well, not even the witch trials aside and the witch hysteria aside, just history in general of the area. I mean, listen, pick up a book. Please, for the love of God, go pick up a book and read it. But
like trying to get organized. And I, because my kids and my wife continuously yell at me. They'll go, so many things are up in your head, and if something ever happens, we don't even know some of the different things. Because again, a lot of times you just go out, you investigate, you're not worrying about, especially years back, we didn't worry about it. You took down some notes or you jotted a few things down here and there, and you ran a tape recorder. Woo, that was great, and you just didn't think so much about it. But now here I am, years later. Yeah, I know what that note means. Yes, I know what this tape is and some of the info on it, but nobody else is going to. So, again, going through old photographs and things as I've been pulling stuff together, I came across the photograph, or several of them, that I had taken of the family stained glass window in the church. And, it made me sit here and think about the story, that transpired with it. And I, for the life of me, and this is terrible, I cannot tell you what year it was, but I could say that it was longer than 33 years ago when that story took place. Because, we were, I can remember the house we were living in and, me walking in and telling my mom the whole story about it. Because, when it came into the paranormal, my mom and Ed Warren were twins. But if you said ghost to my mother, she would get hysterical crying. You say ghost to Ed, he'd go, where? So they were night and day when it came to the paranormal. My mom was petrified of it. She never wanted anything to do with that. She'd get very upset over it. But anyhow, going back and forth and then sitting here thinking about it, and I went, I never got any answers. My mom never answered me about it. My uncle never answered me about it. So to this day, I still don't know, was I looking at a physical human being that were the stained glass windows? So it made me stop and take a thought again about that. Was it somebody trying to tell me something about the window from the family? I don't know. I can't answer it. And unfortunately, Ed and my mom are both gone, but you know how the old-timers were. If they didn't want to talk about something, they weren't going to talk about it. They just, with certain things, when I would ask, I would just get that look, and they just would not respond. And I was wise and smart enough to know, leave it alone. Just leave it alone. You don't push it. So, again, it was just something, and it was going through my mind, and I said, I better get this story done up, too.
Wow.
And that's how that came about.
I think it's incredible that you got to at least take the photo. So even though you don't know where the window went, you at least have the photo of the window that you can carry with you and keep that going.
Keep the story going.
Yeah.
Facebook memoir, John Zaffis.
Yeah. Well, again, too, ironically, out of the whole situation, got a private email from someone and goes, I I did not know I was related to John Zaffis. So we went back and forth a little bit, and we started comparing notes, and it was funny finding out that we're cousins, and we never really knew much of anything, and they were reading it, I guess, online or something, and then they called one of their cousins, and they called their mother, and they're going, "Yeah, Johnny's our cousin."
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Johnny's our cousin.
Mixing genealogy in with the paranormal.
Yeah, right?
You mentioned you mentioned your mom
Yes.
just a moment ago, and that she was completely opposite of your Uncle Ed.
Yes.
How did she feel when you decided that this was your calling and you were going to start working with Ed and learning from Ed?
She did just about everything you could possibly think of to discourage me. She would go back and forth and, sitting talking about it. And she goes, Johnny, I really, I'm very uncomfortable with you doing all this. And I remember I had said to her, because I was about 16 at the point, and I just said, well, Mom, I'm going to do it. Talking, and, I would tell him different things and go back and forth. And, it was over the course of, several years from 16 up where him and I would just talk about stuff and go back and forth, and I would just start going to different locations. And there was at one point in time, he had brought me a couple of ghost books, a couple of books on haunting things. And you had to know my uncle. He was a very tough type of a guy. He was very rugged. And he just threw them, on the table. And, he says, here. And I go, he goes, read them, learn something. That's the type of person he was. And then, things would, as things were graduating, into me getting more involved and, poking around with stuff, I can remember my mom saying at one point in time, well, if you're going to do this, I'd rather you're with my brother. And at least he could keep an eye on you, and hopefully you don't get yourself in too much trouble. Boy, little did she know.
Thank you for sharing the story. That was a very, very nice, touching story, and you tell it well, because I was almost there with you for a moment, picturing what I've seen of photos of Ed, picturing him throwing these books down and so it was very well told. I have to ask, because obviously the demonologist, it's part of you, it's part of what you've become, it's stuck with you because, of course, now you are a demonologist and everybody wants to know, tell us all the stories, tell us all the bad stuff, tell us all. But there was a path you had to take in order to be able to call yourself a demonologist. How long into working with Ed was it before you decided, or was it sort of, it was just going to happen all along anyway, before you decided that's where you wanted to go with it?
My uncle fought that tooth and nail, and we would talk about it, and then it was to that point. You have to remember, too, this was way before we had the internet or anything. You had to read books, or you had to meet people and talk to people and, integrate getting involved with the paranormal from that point of view. And it reached a point where him and I were just talking. We were going back and forth, and I said, I want to know about possession and stuff. Why? Leave it alone. Why? And this would go on for several months, and then it would reach a point, where him and I were just standing there, and we just went back and forth at each other. And he goes, all right, fine, like that. He said, come on downstairs. And we went down, and we were sitting down in what is known as the Halloween room. And he just sat there, and he was sitting in his chair, and I was sitting up front. And I was being my punky self. You got to remember, I was in my 20s. So we're sitting there, and he's going on, and he's talking about the dangers of it. You don't understand any of it. You've never really been exposed to any of it. He says you cross that line, your life changes. It alters your friendships. It alters your life. It alters, your family environment. He goes, it just totally changes everything, John, once you cross that line and you start getting involved with this. And, the conversation was going on, and I was sitting there, fiddling with my fingers and stuff. And I looked at him and I went, yeah, so I'm not worried about it. He leaned forward and he almost practically got right up into my face. He goes, I am. He goes, you're my blood, you're my nephew, and I don't want to have to deal with your mother if something happens to you. And then he sat back in his chair, crossed his arms, and he goes, you're going to do it anyways, aren't you? And I go, yep. And that was the thing right there. And I said, okay, is he taking me seriously? Does he know I'm going to turn around and do it regardless of whether I'm with him or I go out and start poking around? And it just, as time went on, you know, that's, again, where it was the same type of situation. He would just take books and throw them at me, and he would just say, read this. And I'd go, well, what it's about? Just read it. And that's what he would do. So, you know, and I would. And then what he would do a lot of times was quiz me to see if I read those freaking books.
Yep.
He would just start asking me different things, and then eventually it led to me going with them on, you know, a few excursions here and there, and meeting rabbis, priests, ministers, Buddhists, shamans, medicine men, and all these, you know, different people. And, you know, right at that point in time, it wasn't anything hardcore. There was nothing hardcore in the beginning stages. And as it, you know, just kept going through, we'd have conversations on our drives back home, but they were always like tests. And he would just throw things out at me to see what my responses were going to be. Yeah. And that's how I got a lot of my education, was by him doing what he did, and you know, getting it to register in my head. And he used to say, but he always used to say the same thing. He goes, you know, you're going to learn the hard way like I did. He goes, I can already see it. And I would just laugh, and then something would come up or something would happen, and lo and behold, I'd end up learning things the hard way.
Wow.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's when I look back at that, you know, and going back so many years ago, I didn't look at it like, you know, I do today. I was hanging around with my aunt and uncle. They chased ghosts. Big freaking deal. I mean, that's how I viewed it. And that's how I looked at it for the longest period of time, you know, when working with them and getting exposed to all these cases that ended up turning into movies and books and everything else. You know, when it hit home with me was the day that he went down. That you guys are hearing stories I normally don't talk about. I have been very nostalgic lately, and I don't know why. I'm not usually like that. But, you know, yeah, and it's just been something over the past couple of weeks. But, you know, what was I talking about? I just lost my train of thought on that one, guys.
How he went down. That's how you started.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, the day he went down, I was up. Him and I were sitting, and we were going over 2 or 3 cases that we were all involved with. And, you know, Lorraine was in the kitchen. Her sister had come in and exchanging a birthday gift and so on. And he was sitting there, and he goes, Kid, I'm not always going to, because I was always Kid, unless I was in trouble. Then I was John. But he would say Kid. That's how I always knew I was in trouble with my uncles, when he would say John. Any other time it was Kid. But, you know, he goes, I'm not always going to be around. You've been involved with this, you know, and you da-da-da. And he went into this in-depth conversation and everything. And I turned and looked at him, and I said to him, what the hell are you talking like this for? I said, you're perfectly fine. And he sat back in his chair. He crossed his arms, and, you know, he closed his eyes. Then later that night, he went down.
Wow.
That has always freaked me out to this day, because, again, verification to sit and just get into an in-depth conversation. Then I also remember, too, he had threw in there at one point in time, he was talking about when they were kids. He remembered him and one of his other cousins and another cousin getting into this big fist fight, and it was a story I never heard before, and I busted out laughing, and they were all big, hulky, rough guys, all 3 of them, including Ed. And I said, boy, I wish I could have witnessed that. And he just chuckled a little bit. He goes, oh, no, you don't. He says, our mothers almost ended up killing us.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that's. You know what's amazing too? It doesn't matter how big you are. If mom comes in and she's involved, you're a puppy dog.
Yeah.
Mom gets involved, forget it. It doesn't matter. Oh man, I appreciate you sharing that story with us. That was
stories.
Many stories.
Yeah.
But that's something it's interesting that you mentioned that because Lauren and I have been talking about stuff like that a lot lately too, and mostly about animals, how they seem to just know, when something like that's going to happen. And a lot of times an animal will try to almost, I don't want to say distance themselves, but almost bring closure with you before it happens, just sort of like, because they just know. They know what's coming. It's amazing to me because I think if we all sort of focus on ourselves, we know it too. Yeah, you really can. How often do you see it? I know it's TV and it's movies, but some of it's based off of true stories. When you see somebody who, one of the stories I think about quite often is Nancy Reagan. Mm-hmm. She said she was with Ron when he passed, and of course, if everybody remembers, Ron had Alzheimer's. He was mentally gone. Yeah. So when he passed away, she said he looked at her, and he knew who she was. And it was that moment of clarity that he had just before he passed, that it was Ron again, and he was there. And it all just came and then was gone. Yeah. And it's something that I think we truly know. Yeah.
Well, again, I think, any of us that, have been around any of our relatives that pass away and some of the things that they say to us or some of the experiences that transpire, they stay with you the rest of your life. You don't forget them. Then you hear other people talking about the stories, and you just sit there and you listen to it, and you go, these things occur and these things do happen. Because I can still remember the story again. I don't very often talk about it, and right towards the end, because my mom and dad have lived with my wife and I in an apartment we had inside the house, and she finally was hospitalized, and we knew it was near the end and everything, and she was in a coma. And we would take turns, the three of us, my two sisters and myself, going up, and this one night, and it was the craziest night. It was 10 o'clock at night, and I'm sitting there. I knew my sister, Julie, had gone up earlier in the evening. She called me and, told me what was happening. And 10 o'clock at night, I jumped up, and I got dressed, and my wife said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm going up to the hospital." She goes, "Johnny, it's 10 o'clock at night. They're not even going to let you in." I said, "I'm going in the hospital." And I did, and I, went in and everything, and she was in a coma for, I think a week and a half or whatever. And I'm looking at her, and I see flutter in her eyes, and I see her trying to talk. So I run over, wet the washcloth, put it on and everything. I couldn't get her eyes open, but her mouth opened up a little bit, and she was trying to tell me something. And needless to say, at that point, it was just like, my God, she's coming back around. That's all I kept thinking. She's coming back around. So, didn't get to hear her say anything or do anything. All I remember was I let out a yell, and I told her to let go. It was time to go. And she calmed right back down. I said, "Just let it go now." And I said, "Everybody's waiting for you." And I think it was about 2:30 in the morning, I got a telephone call. She passed away that night. Wow. I came back home, and I called up my sister Julie, my sister Karen, and I go, "Mom was trying to talk," and she was like, they're going, "You're nuts." And I go, "No, I'm telling you." So they go, what did you do? Why did you even go up there? I said, "I don't know." I said, 10 o'clock at night, I was sitting watching TV, got dressed, and went up to the hospital. I said, "Someone just told me to go up." Yeah. So, again, you hear all these crazy, quirky stories, but it's so funny how our family members or our pets or these different things bring connections and bring that whole circle around and pull it all together, that we all have these individual experiences.
Yeah. Yes, and even when you think you're not connected because you choose to not believe in it or think that the paranormal or telekinesis is hokey, and then something happens and you're mind blown. How did I know that? How could I possibly have known that? How did they know that? How did, Yeah. Yeah.
It is. And it's such a bizarre world that all of us are involved with, and we investigate it. We have our experiences. We encounter different things. And, we view it differently than people on the outside, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
We look at it. I think I look at the paranormal and the afterlife, I think, totally differently today than I even did 10 years ago. So again, there's things that exist, there's things that occur, there's definitely communication that goes back and forth between individuals that don't speak, and like I said, with the near death, it's a wild, wild ride.
Yeah, it really is. It's just being involved in this, and I'm going on 6 years now, and I'm just, oh my God, I don't even have a tenth, I think, of what you've been through and experienced, but it's something that my opinions and my views don't change much, but if anything in me has really changed or evolved a little bit over the 6 years, it's been my thirst for wanting to get deeper and wanting to know more. I really always believed in a lot of the things that we see and experience. I guess more so it's just now, for me anyway, I believe in spirits, I believe in ghosts, I believe in paranormal activity, I believe in demons, I believe in all of that. I want to know why. Why are they existing? Why do we sometimes see them and sometimes don't? Why is it that, 55 times on the same day at the same time this will happen, and then it just stops? Why? Why is it that, a broken radio can bring a voice through, but yet it can stand here and not see or touch, or there's nothing else? Why is it one day a millimeter will register something, and it all comes together, and then the next day you're only going to capture an EVP, but nothing else tells you anything,
or nothing at all? Yeah.
It's all these questions, the whys, that realistically, I don't know if we're ever going to have answers for them. I just don't think it's going to happen. But, well, we will when we're not here anymore. But I just don't think that's something that we're ever going to be able to 100% come to a realization that, yes, that EVP was actually, the spirit of Ronald Reagan coming through and saying, Dipper. I don't know. It's just never going to happen, I don't think. That's my opinion anyway.
I think, and the way we look at it, and I'm glad to hear you speak this way, and the biggest reason is we're all searching, and we're all looking. All these experiences that you just described, we want that foundation established, where we can get the repeatability, where we can turn around and say, okay, this has been going on for the past 100 years, that this is the reason why. And I think we all strive for that, and we all look for that. But a lot of times with certain things, when I get repeatability with situations or reoccurrences of a certain type of activity, I view it differently now, because I take that step back and go, I've experienced this I don't know how many times already, and it's happened, and I still don't have a clear-cut definition or an understanding onto why it's occurring. But I look at it as there's something trying to be conveyed. It drives all of us nuts. I think, okay, fine. A good friend passes away. Why the hell can't they just come back and talk to us and have a conversation with us? Why?
Right.
It drives each and every one of us out of our minds. But tidbits will always get thrown out at us. Different things will get thrown to us that gives us that verification, yet we know these things are happening, they're occurring, but yet we can't sit down and have a full conversation with somebody that is deceased. That drives me nuts, because I wish we could. And is it ever going to happen? I don't know. But I think it's all these different types of things that keeps each and every one of us that has that drive with trying to find some of the answers to keep going within the paranormal. I mean, we all seen what's happened in the paranormal over the past 10 years. It's exploded. I mean, you know, there's groups galore and, you know, TV shows and all these other things, you know, and a lot of times, you know, I say it's a double-edged sword, and it is. On one hand, it helps to bring everything to the forefront. It's helping to open things up and to really get things out to the forefront. On the flip side of it, it's made it harder for a lot of us to do investigations. It makes it difficult when you're trying to validate something because, you know, did this person just see it on a TV show? Did they see it in a movie? Did they hear it, you know, on something? So, again, I think, you know, on the flip side of it, you have to look at it, you know, from both ends, which I do. And, you know, and I try to comprehend it and try to understand it and, you know, try to get people to understand, you know, these are TV shows, these are movies. This isn't what really happens when we're doing real investigations. Things are cut out, things are moved, things have to be changed around. It gets crazy. It just does.
Yeah. Wait, you mean Annabelle doesn't really look like that?
Raggedy Ann didn't make for scary Hollywood kids.
I mean, you know, I think the original story, the original doll, and the events that occurred with Annabelle are more freaking scarier than, you know, anything else. But it was an interesting movie.
Yeah.
It's just my point for that was because it's so frustrating when you hear someone having a conversation and, you know, sitting next to you and they're like, that was the real doll. Yeah, it was. It was the one that they used, and that's the one he has. No, it's not. And why are you believing a movie? You know? Like, you know,
well, again, you know, it's like anything, and it's things that you learn that you comprehend and understand when you get involved with behind the scenes with the way these guys look at things. And what they think of is, we got to scare them. We got to scare them. We got to scare them. Exactly. Change this, change that, do this. That's scarier. And you go, and they don't realize that you're taking a story that has been established, very well known for upteen years, and you just totally did a total reversal on the whole thing.
Right.
But there's a lot of people out there that didn't know the real story to Annabelle and believe that doll that was created in The Conjuring is Annabelle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? At least it gets them talking about it.
That's
There's
true.
that double-edged sword again. At least it gets them talking about it.
That's true.
John, we only have a couple of minutes left, and I do want to bring this up real quick, and I'm by no means do I mean to put you on the spot at all, but it's something that keeps rolling through my head, and I'm
no, you're not going to. Go ahead.
So, okay, couple minutes, literally 3 minutes. I said something the other day on the site Ghost Magnets with a twist when they had you as their prominent person in the paranormal.
Yeah, if you're trying to get me to teach, go ahead.
It's not necessarily trying to get you to teach. It's something that I really am drawn to, and something personally myself that I run a paranormal team. I feel like we do things with the right way for the right reasons, and I see a lot of other people out there that represent themselves a certain way, and they do a little bit more harm than good with some things. And this is something that I want to personally be able to learn to help people with, to teach, to be able to do it the right way. And I just don't know enough people out there that can give you the answer and direction to go down that road and study demonology. And I see, obviously you look and, you can get online for 4 weeks and I'll teach you how to be a demon. Yeah, bullcrap. I'm not going to do that. I just want to know, even if it's not from John Zaffis, what would you recommend? How would you recommend someone open their mind up and begin that journey to become a demonologist? To what's that, other than getting involved in the paranormal and reading the Bible, which I'm doing, what's the next step?
Well, your key thing when getting involved on the negative aspect of this field is just make sure you do have a spiritual foundation. Read as much as you can and interpreting and understanding. The demonologist is like a Bible as far as comprehending and understanding a lot of these things. Hostage to the Devil by Malachi Martin. I mean, your key factor is a lot of that. The next thing is establishing yourself with different spiritual people. And, that's why, I have always been taught, and I've always followed in this, just from what my uncle told me. He goes, John, you're Roman Catholic, you're a practicing Roman Catholic, but not everybody out there is. And he was very much intertwined and intertwined with so many of the other belief systems out there. So again, being able to network with some of these individuals in the spiritual community is a key factor, because they can teach you so much that you can't get from a book, you can't get from, something online. And I don't know if I'm, sounding old-fashioned with that or not, but that's how I learned. My uncle in several situations just threw me right into the arena, as years would go by, to be able to learn and comprehend and understand certain things. But with me, I always had that safety net. That safety net was always there, because I knew if I ever got myself in enough trouble, my uncle would hopefully bail me out. But, again, with a lot of that, it's meeting the people and establishing friendships. Today we live in a world where, people barely even communicate anymore. Texting and, Facebook and, everything else, it's a difficult thing, because a lot of people prefer to communicate that way than instead of getting on the phone or, sitting down and having a chat with somebody and having a cup of coffee or, over a couple of beers. But, again, so much of that is missing now today. And it's important. You need that in your structure to be learn anything, to be able to grab onto that knowledge base of these people out there. I mean, I've come under some heavy criticism over the past several months in regards to me backing away from, getting so directly involved like I did years ago. And, it's a difficult thing, but you have to be wise enough when getting involved with the demonology field. Always follow your common sense. And there's points in time where you have to back away from things. Yeah. Because, you wear yourself down or you get yourself into situations, you leave yourself vulnerable. So in all honesty, that's about the best information I could possibly give you. If you ever feel that point where you need to take that step back, follow your instinct.